Day 67. Judges 5-8. Devorah and Gideon. 5. The song of Devorah. 6. Gideon. 7. Gideon defeats the Midianite. 8. Ziva and Zalmunna. Gideon's death. Chapter 7, verse 5. God wants to prepare the man to fight God's battle with God's weapons in God's ways. A Christian's unfitness for the battle is often seen in the unconscious and trifling act of his life, which can be caused from his utter lack of faith.
Chapter 5. Then sang Deborah and Barak the son of Abinoam on that day, saying, For that the leaders took the lead in Israel, for that the people offered themselves willingly, bless you, Lord. Hear, you kings, give ear, you princes. I, even I, will sing to the Lord. I will sing praise to the Lord, the God of Israel. O Lord, when you went forth out of Seir, when you marched out of the field of Edom, the earth trembled, the sky also dropped, yes, the clouds dropped water. The mountains quaked at the presence of the Lord, even Sinai at the presence of the Lord, the God of Israel. In the days of Shamgar the son of Anath, in the days of Jael, the highways were unoccupied. The travelers walked through byways. The rulers ceased in Israel, they ceased, until that I, Deborah, arose, that I arose a mother in Israel. They chose new gods, then was war in the gates. Was there a shield or a spear seen among 40,000 in Israel? My heart is toward the governors of Israel, who offered themselves willingly among the people. Bless you, Lord. Tell of it, you who ride on white donkeys, you who sit on rich carpets, you who walk by the way. Far from the noise of archers, in the places of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord, even the righteous acts of his rule in Israel. Then the people of the Lord went down to the gates. Awake, awake, Deborah, awake, awake, utter a song. Arise, Barak, and lead away your captives, you son of Abinoam. Then came down a remnant of the nobles and the people. The Lord came down for me against the mighty. Out of Ephraim came down they whose root is in Amalek. After you, Benjamin, among your peoples. Out of Machir came down governors. Out of Zebulun those who handle the marshal staff. The princes of Issachar were with Deborah. As was Issachar, so was Barak. Into the valley they rushed forth at his feet. By the watercourses of Reuben there were great resolves of heart. Why sat you among the sheepfolds to hear the whistling for the flocks? At the watercourses of Reuben there were great searchings of heart. Gilead abode beyond the Jordan. Dan, why did he remain in ships? Asher sat still at the haven of the sea, abode by his creeks. Zebulun was a people that jeopardized their lives to the death. Naphtali on the high places of the field. The kings came and fought. Then fought the kings of Canaan and Tanakh by the waters of Megiddo. They took no gain of money. From the sky the stars fought. From their courses they fought against Sisera. The river Kishon swept them away. That ancient river, the river Kishon. My soul march on with strength. Then did the horse hoofs stamp, by reason of the prancings of their strong ones. Curse you, Merah, said the angel of the Lord. Curse you bitterly, the inhabitants of it, because they didn't come to the help of the Lord, to the help of the Lord against the mighty. Blessed above women shall Jael be, the wife of Heber the Kenite. Blessed shall she be above women in the tent. He asked water, and she gave him milk. She brought him butter in a lordly dish. She put her hand to the tent pin, her right hand to the workman's hammer. With the hammer she struck Sisera, she struck through his head, yes, she pierced and struck through his temples. At her feet he bowed, he lay, he fell. At her feet he bowed, he fell. Where he bowed, there he fell down dead. Through the window she looked forth and cried. The mother of Sisera cried through the lattice. Why is his chariot so long in coming? Why do the wheels of his chariots wait? Her wise ladies answered her. Yes, she returned answer to herself. Have they not found, have they not divided the spoil? A lady, 2 ladies to every man. To Sisera a spoil of dyed garments, a spoil of dyed garments embroidered, of dyed garments embroidered on both sides, on the necks of the spoil. So let all your enemies perish, O Lord, but let those who love him be as the sun when he goes forth in his might. The land had rest 40 years. Chapter 6. The children of Israel did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of Midian 7 years. The hand of Midian prevailed against Israel, and because of Midian the children of Israel made them the dens which are in the mountains, and the caves, and the strongholds. So it was, when Israel had sown, that the Midianites came up, and the Amalekites, and the children of the east, they came up against them, and they encamped against them, and destroyed the increase of the earth, until you come to Gaza, and left no sustenance in Israel, neither sheep, nor ox, nor donkey. For they came up with their cattle in their tents, they came in as locusts for multitude, both they and their camels were without number, and they came into the land to destroy it. Israel was brought very low because of Midian, and the children of Israel cried to the Lord. It happened when the children of Israel cried to the Lord because of Midian, that the Lord sent a prophet to the children of Israel, and he said to them, Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, I brought you up from Egypt, and brought you forth out of the house of bondage, and I delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of all who oppressed you, and drove them out from before you, and gave you their land. And I said to you, I am the Lord your God. You shall not fear the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell. But you have not listened to my voice. The angel of the Lord came, and sat under the oak which was in Ophrah, that pertained to Joash the Abezrite, and his son Gideon was beating out wheat in the winepress, to hide it from the Midianites. The angel of the Lord appeared to him, and said to him, The Lord is with you, you mighty man of valor. Gideon said to him, O my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? And where are all his wondrous works which our fathers told us, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has cast us off, and delivered us into the hand of Midian. The Lord looked at him and said, Go in this your might, and save Israel from the hand of Midian. Have I not sent you? He said to him, O Lord, with which shall I save Israel? Behold, my family is the poorest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. The Lord said to him, Surely I will be with you, and you shall strike the Midianites as one man. He said to him, If now I have found favor in your sight, then show me a sign that it is you who talk with me. Please don't go away until I come to you, and bring out my present and lay it before you. He said, I will wait until you come again. Gideon went in and made ready a kid, and unleavened cakes of an ephah of meal. The flesh he put in a basket, and he put the broth in a pot, and brought it out to him under the oak, and presented it. The angel of God said to him, Take the flesh and the unleavened cakes, and lay them on this rock, and pour out the broth. He did so. Then the angel of the Lord put forth the end of the staff that was in his hand, and touched the flesh and the unleavened cakes, and there went up a fire out of the rock, and consumed the flesh and the unleavened cakes, and the angel of the Lord departed out of his sight. Gideon saw that he was the angel of the Lord, and Gideon said, Alas, Lord God, because I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face. The Lord said to him, Peace be to you, don't be afraid, you shall not die. Then Gideon built an altar there to the Lord, and called it Yahweh Shalom. To this day it is yet in Ophrah of the Abezrites. It happened the same night that the Lord said to him, Take your father's bull, even the second bull 7 years old, and throw down the altar of Baal that your father has, and cut down the Asherah that is by it, and build an altar to the Lord your God on top of this stronghold, in an orderly manner, and take the second bull, and offer a burnt offering with the wood of the Asherah, which you shall cut down. Then Gideon took 10 men of his servants, and did as the Lord had spoken to him. And it happened, because he feared his father's household and the men of the city, so that he could not do it by day, that he did it by night. When the men of the city arose early in the morning, behold, the altar of Baal was broken down, and the Asherah was cut down that was by it, and the second bull was offered on the altar that was built. They said one to another, Who has done this thing? When they inquired and asked, they said, Gideon the son of Joash has done this thing. Then the men of the city said to Joash, Bring out your son, that he may die, because he has broken down the altar of Baal, and because he has cut down the Asherah that was by it. Joash said to all who stood against him, Will you contend for Baal, or will you save him? He who will contend for him, let him be put to death while it is yet morning. If he be a god, let him fight for himself, because someone has broken down his altar. Therefore on that day they named him Jerubbaal, saying, Let Baal contend against him, because he has broken down his altar. Then all the Midianites and the Amalekites and the children of the east assembled themselves together, and they passed over and encamped in the valley of Jezreel. But the Spirit of the Lord came on Gideon, and he blew a trumpet, and Abiezer was gathered together after him. He sent messengers throughout all Manasseh, and they also were gathered together after him. And he sent messengers to Asher, and to Zebulun, and to Naphtali, and they came up to meet them. Gideon said to God, If you will save Israel by my hand, as you have spoken, behold, I will put out a fleece of wool on the threshing floor. If there be dew on the fleece only, and it be dry on all the ground, then I shall know that you will save Israel by my hand, as you have spoken. It was so, for he rose up early on the next day, and pressed the fleece together, and wrung the dew out of the fleece, a bowl full of water. Gideon said to God, "Don't let your anger be kindled against me, and I will speak but this once. Please let me make a trial just this once with the fleece. Let it now be dry only on the fleece, and on all the ground let there be dew." God did so that night, for it was dry on the fleece only, and there was dew on all the ground. Chapter 7. Then Jerubbaal, who is Gideon, and all the people who were with him, rose up early and encamped beside the spring of Harod, and the camp of Midian was on the north side of them, by the hill of Moreh in the valley. The Lord said to Gideon, "The people who are with you are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hand, lest Israel vaunt themselves against me, saying, 'My own hand has saved me.' Now therefore proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, 'Whoever is fearful and trembling, let him return and depart from Mount Gilead.' There returned of the people 22,000, and there remained 10,000. The Lord said to Gideon, "The people are yet too many. Bring them down to the water, and I will try them there for you. And it shall be, that of whom I tell you, this shall go with you, the same shall go with you, and of whoever I tell you, this shall not go with you, the same shall not go." So he brought down the people to the water, and the Lord said to Gideon, "Every one who laps of the water with his tongue, as a dog laps, him shall you set by himself. Likewise every one who bows down on his knees to drink." The number of those who lapped, putting their hand to their mouth, was 300 men, but all the rest of the people bowed down on their knees to drink water. The Lord said to Gideon, "By the 300 men who lapped I will save you, and deliver the Midianites into your hand, and let all the people go every man to his place." So the people took food in their hand and their trumpets, and he sent all the men of Israel every man to his tent, but retained the 300 men, and the camp of Midian was beneath him in the valley. It happened the same night that the Lord said to him, "Arise, go down into the camp, for I have delivered it into your hand. But if you fear to go down, go with Purah your servant down to the camp, and you shall hear what they say, and afterward shall your hands be strengthened to go down into the camp." Then he went down with Purah his servant to the outermost part of armed men who were in the camp. The Midianites and the Amalekites and all the children of the east lay along in the valley like locusts for multitude, and their camels were without number, as the sand which is on the seashore for multitude. When Gideon had come, behold, there was a man telling a dream to his fellow, and he said, "Behold, I dreamed a dream. And behold, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the camp of Midian, and came to the tent, and struck it so that it fell, and turned it upside down so that the tent lay flat." His fellow answered, "This is nothing else save the sword of Gideon the son of Joash, a man of Israel. Into his hand God has delivered Midian and all the host." It happened when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and the interpretation of it, that he worshipped. And he returned into the camp of Israel and said, "Arise, for the Lord has delivered into your hand the host of Midian." He divided the 300 men into 3 companies, and he put into all the hands of all of them trumpets, and empty pitchers, with torches within the pitchers. He said to them, "Look on me, and do likewise. And behold, when I come to the outermost part of the camp, it shall be that, as I do, so shall you do. When I blow the trumpet, I and all who are with me, then blow you your trumpet also on every side of the camp, and say, 'For the Lord and for Gideon.'" So Gideon and the 100 men who were with him came to the outermost part of the camp in the beginning of the middle watch, when they had but newly set the watch, and they blew the trumpets, and broke in pieces the pitchers that were in their hands. The 3 companies blew the trumpets, and broke the pitchers, and held the torches in their left hands, and the trumpets in their right hands with which to blow, and they cried, "The sword of the Lord and of Gideon." They stood every man in his place round about the camp, and all the host ran, and they shouted, and put them to fight. They blew the 300 trumpets, and the Lord set every man's sword against his fellow, and against all the host, and the host fled as far as Beth-shittah towards Zerai, and as far as the border of Abel-Meholah by Tabbath. The men of Israel were gathered together out of Naphtali, and out of Asher, and out of all Manasseh, and pursued after Midian. Gideon sent messengers throughout all the hill country of Ephraim, saying, "Come down against Midian, and take before them the waters, as far as Beth-barah, even the Jordan." So all the men of Ephraim were gathered together, and took the waters as far as Beth-barah, even the Jordan. They took the 2 princes of Midian, Oreb and Zeeb, and they killed Oreb at the rock of Oreb, and Zeeb they killed at the winepress of Zeeb, and pursued Midian, and they brought the heads of Oreb and Zeeb to Gideon beyond the Jordan. Chapter 8. The men of Ephraim said to him, "Why have you served us thus, that you didn't call us, when you went to fight with Midian?" They did chide with him sharply. He said to them, "What have I now done in comparison with you? Isn't the gleaning of the grapes of Ephraim better than the vintage of Abiezer? God has delivered into your hand the princes of Midian, Oreb and Zeeb, and what was I able to do in comparison with you? Then their anger was abated toward him when he had said that. Gideon came to the Jordan and passed over, he and the 300 men who were with him, faint yet pursuing. He said to the men of Succoth, Please give loaves of bread to the people who follow me, for they are faint, and I am pursuing after Zebah and Zalmunna, the kings of Midian. The princes of Succoth said, Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in your hand, that we should give bread to your army? Gideon said, Therefore, when the Lord has delivered Zebah and Zalmunna into my hand, then I will tear your flesh with the thorns of the wilderness and with briars. He went up there to Penuel, and spoke to them in the like manner, and the men of Penuel answered him as the men of Succoth had answered. He spoke also to the men of Penuel, saying, When I come again in peace, I will break down this tower. Now Zebah and Zalmunna were in Karkor, and their hosts were with them, about 15,000 men, all who were left of all the host of the children of the east, for there fell 120,000 men who drew the sword. Gideon went up by the way of those who lived in tents on the east of Nobah and Jogbehah, and struck the host, for the host was secure. Zebah and Zalmunna fled, and he pursued after them, and he took the 2 kings of Midian, Zebah and Zalmunna, and confused all the host. Gideon the son of Joash returned from the battle from the ascent of Heres. He called a young man of the men of Succoth and inquired of him, and he described for him the princes of Succoth and the elders of it, 77 men. He came to the men of Succoth and said, See, Zebah and Zalmunna, concerning whom you did taunt me, saying, Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in your hand, that we should give bread to your men who are weary? He took the elders of the city, and the thorns of the wilderness and briars, and with them he taught the men of Succoth. He broke down the tower of Penuel, and killed the men of the city. Then he said to Zebah and Zalmunna, What manner of men were they whom you killed at Tabor? They answered, As you are, so were they. Each one resembled the children of a king. He said, They were my brothers, the sons of my mother. As the Lord lives, if you had saved them alive, I would not kill you. He said to Jether his firstborn, Rise up and kill them. But the youth didn't draw his sword, for he was afraid, because he was a youth. Then Zebah and Zalmunna said, You rise up and fall on us, for as the man is, so is his strength. Gideon arose, then killed Zebah and Zalmunna, and took the crescents that were on their camels' necks. Then the men of Israel said to Gideon, You rule over us, both you and your son and your son's sons also, for you have saved us out of the hand of Midian. Gideon said to them, I will not rule over you, neither shall my son rule over you. The Lord shall rule over you. Gideon said to them, I would make a request of you, that you would give me every man the earrings of his spoil. For they had golden earrings, because they were Ishmaelites. They answered, We will willingly give them. They spread a garment, and did cast in it every man the earrings of his spoil. The weight of the golden earrings that he requested was 1,700 shekels of gold, besides the crescents and the pendants, and the purple clothing that was on the kings of Midian, and besides the chains that were around their camels' necks. Gideon made an ephod of it, and put it in his city, even in Ophrah, and all Israel played the prostitute after it there, and it became a snare to Gideon and to his house. So Midian was subdued before the children of Israel, and they lifted up their heads no more. The land had rest 40 years in the days of Gideon. Jerubbaal the son of Joash went and lived in his own house. Gideon had 70 sons conceived from his body, for he had many wives. His concubine, who was in Shechem, she also bore him a son, and he named him Abimelech. Gideon the son of Joash died in a good old age, and was buried in the tomb of Joash his father, in Ophrah of the Abezrites. It happened, as soon as Gideon was dead, that the children of Israel turned again, and played the prostitute after the Baals, and made Baal-bereth their god. The children of Israel didn't remember the Lord their God, who had delivered them out of the hand of all their enemies on every side, neither showed they in kindness to the house of Jerubbaal, who is Gideon, according to all the goodness which he had shown to Israel.